Hello everyone, it's Armor King coming at you guys with another video. Now it's been a minute since I've done some filming for any kind of thing, and I know my absence has been a little bit missed, but I have been feeling very sick. I have a very bad condition I'm in a very bad condition right now where I have a lot of acid reflux buildup, and it's causing my stomach to really mess with my sleep schedule and how how things work for me. So, albeit besides that, today I'm here to talk about Armor King's Crouch Dash 1. So, his Crouch Dash 1 comes out in 15 to 18 frames. Oh, 15 to 19 frames. Now, it comes out in 15 to 19 frames, and it has a lot of good usage. It has a lot of good ways to use it. So, let's start with my favorite thing, is that it's +7 or +6 on block. Now it says +6 right there, but it's +7 at a different range. But that's because it hits shallow. But on shallow hits, you're way more plus. But on regular hit, like up close, you're +6. Now, what makes this so interesting is that Armor King is always going to be pushing the opponent at a distance. This right here is technically your electric. And how it's your electric, sure, it doesn't launch from point blank unless it's certain characters like Armor King himself or King, like so, but it has to be certain conditions and requirements in order to achieve said thing. But what is more important is the things that you can get with it as a current tool right now. It has its advantages. Now it's especially advantageous against sidesteppers. Look at that. Already having a good usage for sidestep left. Or sidestep right, which leaves them back turned, of course. But this is like versus the fact of them sidestepping or sidewalking. Now sidewalking, you'd have to prepare to go a full deep sidestep. And it works for either one. Now, CD1 has become a launcher it's been a launcher since Season 2, since he came out, but it's been updated in Season 3, that is, Crouch Dash 1 has become a launcher from range 3. So, at range 3, right here, let's turn off guard all, Crouch Dash 1 becomes a launcher, as you can see. To me, that's extremely interesting in what combo paths you can go. I mean, it's kind of limited, but if you know your character, then you should know how to wall carry your opponent correctly and all the other stuff. However, that's just your guys' standard procedure with this move. But you can use this move in multiple ways. Now, when Armor King does Crouch Dash 1, you can interrupt him even if he is plus, but it's mainly through some moves, right? But you can't sidestep or anything like that. You can't down forward 2. You can only interrupt with 2-1 or back 1, and back 1 is very essential if you're Armor King or King. Now, you shouldn't be able to interrupt at all, which is the sad thing. However, it also depends on your execution of Crouch Dash 1. You have to pull that out as fast as you can. And yeah, as you can see right here, back 1 can't interrupt, or it can trade. But yeah, so the best I'm executing it out there is 12 frames possible when it could be like maybe 9 because I'm +6. But again, it does depend on your execution. So if you guys need to practice your execution with Crouch Dash 1, then I mean it's not as easy as it sounds, but I used to practice Crouch Dash 1 most of the time back in the Tekken 6 days and all that other stuff. But to get Crouch Dash 1, it's kind of like following suit with your Wave Dash. How I treat any Crouch Dash move is I just do the Crouch Dash and then I let go of the D-pad back into neutral, and then I press the button. I don't hold onto the D-pad. And that can cause for some error, as a few of my matches with little Majin even shows me doing this. You know what I mean? I do a crouch dash and then I just do a standing one. However, it's all about again, execution. It's just getting your timing. And my timing is that. But let's also talk not just about some of the advantages that you have with this, right? Because I just did talk about the disadvantages, is that if you're not fast enough, the pressure can fail with this move. What you want to do, what I like to do, is I like to do crouch dash 1 into forward, forward, forward 3. And why I like to do that is because you're +6 and the opponent knows that. Or they know that, or they've been conditioned before by Kazuya players, or they've been hit by Electric Wind Godfist and they know to either duck or something like that. But the pressure, you could even use crouch dash 1, crouch dash 1. You can use 2 crouch dash 1s, 3 of them. You could use 1 crouch dash 1 into a crouch dash into ISW. But that is a more skillful manner, as you can see. There's plenty of things that you can do with this. It's just extremely, it's not limited at all. In fact, it's actually quite it's quite interesting what you can do with this. So you can do crouch dash 1, crouch dash into forward, forward 4. There's so many options that you have. Crouch dash 1, and then crouch dash into forward, forward 2, or just forward, forward 2. And the reason why you want to go for forward, forward 2 is because forward, forward 2 has this awkward pushback that sometimes, because the opponent knows it's -11, they're going to immediately try to punish it, and you can go for a counter hit. You can go for a counter hit, you can go for a sway move if you know the move is linear, that they're using against you to try to catch you. It's very interesting what you can do with crouch dash 1 just because it has this distance. And it's pretty great, I think. This distance right here, and yeah, they can always backdash and avoid the forward, forward 2. That's why I suggested the crouch dash into forward, forward 2. That's why I add another crouch dash into the mix. Not just because, you know. See? And yeah, of course you didn't block that, but you know, you can. And you're +10 when that blocks. So, one of my favorite things about this, like I was mentioning earlier, is the sidewalking and the sidestepping. So you do crouch dash 1, and then you can go into another crouch dash, but it has to be a deeper crouch dash, and as you can see why, that has an awkward hitbox. You can choose to go into a deeper crouch dash if you want, if you know your opponent is sidestepping. Or you can choose to go into a not so deep sidestep. But I like to go into the deep sidesteps, mainly because, you know, it'll end up to be a situation where you're going to need to. But the problem with deep sidestepping, guys, is that it's not always, like, guaranteed. You know, deep sidestepping will often get you counter hit. So I'm just saying you can do this against sidewalkers, but it's not recommended in my playbook. But you can, and it will still catch them, like so. But again, I do not recommend it. See that? But that's just it on guard. Now let's talk more about it being on guard too. Let's finish this up with one of my favorite things about this move, is the pushback it has to the wall. You can unintentionally wall carry your opponent. And what's so good about this is that it doesn't require any just frame movements or anything like that. It requires you having the skill to even use CD1 at a very, like, fast pace. And look at how much carry to the wall it has. Boop, You do this, forward, forward 3, boop, forward, 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 forward 3. You know, it doesn't even take that much to do. And I just love the pressure. It can give some kinds of pressure. Now, what you're going to be on the lookout for is people that crouch. So you do crouch dash 1, and then you see that they crouch. Now, this is a big deal about this as an advantage. You do this, and you catch them from crouching. Now they can sidestep crouch, so I could try to see what that I could try to show you what that looks like, but also crouch dash 1 into crouch dash 1, that makes it gets them scared to sidestep. So them crouching is also the reason why that's the reason why I have forward, forward, forward 3, because they will crouch at some point to try to launch punish you. That's the whole purpose of these mids being in here. So you can do crouch dash 1, forward, forward 4, crouch dash 1, forward, forward 2. How this move works, really, it's you push them back. They start crouching, and once they start crouching, you kind of tear them apart, limb from limb. And how I know you can tear them apart limb from limb is mainly because this is just going to push them back over to the wall for wall pressure. You got forward 4. Forward 4 is probably going to be your best friend besides crouch dash 1, forward, forward 4, and while running 3. I just called it forward, 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 forward 3, which is hilarious. But just while running 3. You could also use forward, forward 3. But the problem with forward, forward 3, guys, is that it's high, and you're already in a situation where they're going to want to duck. So, don't do it. Don't do it that much, at least. If you want to go for shadow step pressure, be my guest. But I'm more of a fan right now of crouch dash 1. And why I'm a fan of it is mainly because I can do things like that. It gets the opponent to start ducking. Once you get them to start ducking, you kind of win. I mean, you can crouch. You can even fake crouch dash them. You can just go whip. And once they see that you've stopped, they're gonna press a button. At least in my opinion, I think they should start pressing a button. So I'm gonna do this, and because they're flashing or anything like that, they're gonna be trying to punish you right away. You could always crouch dash in, do an up forward 4, or you could do this, crouch dash in, stop, block their punish, or just stop from moving altogether. To me, it's one of the plans that are very foolproof. It's one of the foolproof things. And it's just a fake out. You can fake your opponent out as well, and that to me is where the mental frames start setting in for your opponent. Once you get your mental frames building up, that's how you really build pressure with Armor King. They're mental frames, not just actual frames. It's what the opponent believes you have. So if you have forward 3, forward 3, and you're doing this, and they don't do anything, they just like, oh shit. If it's a lower level opponent, they're gonna start either ducking because they know it's a high, but they're not gonna punish the cancel. They're not gonna punish the cancel, even though you have even though you're very minus when you're canceling this move. It says you're -5, and you have like an entire 15 frames before you can do anything. So Armor King right here could hop kick me from crouching because he sees me canceling out of this. And what's the best part is it gets the opponent to pretty much just either duck, or you can see them duck, and once you see them duck, you start doing shit like that. That's also another thing that you can implement with crouch dash 1. Once you see them ducking, or they're flash ducking and they're trying to punish you, you can whiff punish them, kind of stuff. Anything that you kind of want to do with Armor King that makes Armor King work. And crouch dash 1, I believe, is one of Armor King's best moves. It's one of the best, I think. And what makes me say that a lot about Armor King is that, let's just get into this a little bit. At the wall, he becomes kind of a grab horny monster, and why I say that is because crouch dash 1 is +6 on block, and yeah, sure, Armor King right here can still duck. That's why I turned off crouching guard. That's why I use it. You can do this, and then, oh look, no grab. But you're also at the wall, and being at the wall against Armor King is kind of scary. Let's be honest here. Forward 2. Boop. Of course, that didn't work, but it works on every other character. Crouch dash 1, forward 2 if they try to duck. Boom! About 90 damage that comes out of that. All from just some pressure at the wall. And you can use forward 2 if you want. You have a plethora of other tools like forward 2-1. And what's so important about forward 2-1 is that it's a natural combo on hit. And it's a counter hit natural combo. It comes out it comes out practically in 9 frames, and it can counter hit any opponent after crouch dash 1 at the wall. So it's a mean tool, and they can't necessarily do anything about it. I think the only characters that can really do much about that is probably Leroy and Jin, who have parries that can parry that. But other than that, those are very matchup specific. Not a lot of characters can deal with that at the wall. And once they know that they're gonna get hurt, they're gonna stop ducking, and then once they stop ducking, guys, it becomes grab city and mix up hell. It just becomes, you just become the ultimate asshole. And what makes me say that is that you have multiple moves that put Armor King at a great advantage. Boop. I mean, heck, giant swing. Look at this. That is probably one of the cheapest giant swings that you'll get. That is a 4-frame giant swing. That is a 4-frame giant swing. What's even worse is that you can do this right here, and sure, I think it'll miss. Yeah, it'll miss. But sometimes it won't. I think, what's the only way to actually avoid this move? So, let's get into that. Oh wow, did you see that? He pressed down. He pressed down to try to sidestep because he can't because he's against the wall. Let's try to sidewalk. He can't sidewalk. It's not letting him. There we go. But he can't. Let's sidewalk right. That should be the biggest weakness, right? That's the weakest link, and he can't get out of it. He can't get out of that. He can't sidewalk it or anything. He's just stuck in the situation where he has to take a grab mix-up. Let me look at backdash, because backdash is important, and he can't get out of it. Reason why it's important is because while running 3, would sometimes, because of how far it pushed back, it would sometimes whiff moves like DDT. See? That's why it's important. But it doesn't whiff. So that's pretty good. He's stuck there for a whole 6 frames, and he can't do much. Except crouch. And once you eliminate crouching, it just becomes... It becomes them doing their best to try to break your grabs. I love this character sometimes. So yeah, that's a lot of the benefits of this move. It's a launcher at range 3. It has amazing pushback. Somewhat, it's a pseudo electric, however you want to pronounce it. And it, not only is it very good, I mean, even on regular hit point blank, you can still get a lot of good things off of it. Now, let's talk about this at not the wall this time, boom. You got forward 4, that's guaranteed. Now, you get guaranteed ground grabs, even at the wall. So, let's look at this at the wall, right? But you can't use back 1-2 against armor. Yeah, you can still use crouch dash 1, do this, and use the back 1-2 thing against others. It's not necessarily as good as this damage right here, which is guaranteed 72 damage if the grab lands. Or you could do the crouch dash 1 into this, use the Dark Inferno kick, and I'll be making a video on that shortly. Now, why is this good out in the neutral is mainly because you get things guaranteed like forward 4. What makes this free pressure? So forward 4, and you can go into forward 4 again, and you're back into a +3 situation where your opponent can't necessarily ignore you. You just do this, and it's practically guaranteed, but also not. The example of why it's not guaranteed. Forward 4 twice isn't guaranteed, but forward 4 once is. And what makes this good? What makes this good is mainly because you're still at a plus situation. You're +1 here when that hits. Well, let's just show you. Do forward 4, and then they're gonna. As you can see, they're always gonna get counter hit by that wake up kick. And what makes that important is that they're still back in the terrible situation they were in, making them want to side roll again. So, once you do this once, this is practically guaranteed, unless they know how to break it, of course. Boop. And that they know that's going to be the only one that's coming out, because the other ones, it doesn't give you much of anything. Now, let's do forward 4. Woohoo! Nice job. So, those are some ways to cover some of the ways that people like to combat you. Now, if they're just going to stand up again, which this is exactly what you want. Woo! They put themselves back into a terrible situation. Now, one of my favorite things to do with Armor King ever is to put people into forward 4 pressure. You can do this, boop, boop, and go yahoo! Just do that. You can just, I mean, nobody expects the 1+2 throw. They always expect giant swing or tombstone. And why they don't expect this is mainly because it doesn't use damage, but guaranteed damage. I'd take guaranteed damage more or less. So do. They get up, then you have yourself a situation. Boop, boop, boop. You could also do this, down forward 2+3, 79 damage, and it breaks the floor. So crouch dash 1 has, again, a lot of uses, a lot of great things you can do with it. And to implement it into your game is pretty essential. Now, you also have to think about your defense when you go into a game, and the defense is more or less trying to pressure your opponent with a crouch dash 1 setup or anything like that. It's alright. I think it can be very useful, but you also have to make sure your opponent is willing to duck, because once they start ducking you, that's when you can start implementing other things. You can start crouch dashing into forward 2-1 or forward 4-2, because, I mean, you're mostly going to get forward 4-2 out of that situation. Oop. So let's do this. Yep, forward 4-2. Forward 4-4. And why this is important is mainly because it comes out at its fastest after you crouch dash like that. Because they're going to be expecting to duck you, and they're going to get counter hit by like a juicy forward 4-4. And if it ends up being at the wall, it's going to end up killing them. So, yeah, guys, this has been a breakdown of Armor King's Crouch Dash 1. Let me know what you guys think, and put your guys' comments down below on what you guys would like to associate with Crouch Dash 1, what your guys' setups are. I'm interested in what you guys like to use, and maybe in the future I could probably put a video out in showing these setups, because we're an Armor King community. We want to strive to be very strong players. And Armor King is a very difficult character to play. Okay guys, thank you again so much for watching, and this has been Armor King.